that was made today in your outfit.
Tremendous amount of effort.
Really?
It requires a lot of effort. 5:50 KTSA news time is 10:08. Let's cut the ribbon on the weekend and get it underway right now with our gang of four. We're going to meet the gang, talk about the big stories of the day and the week. I don't know how we'll do this. It's been such a slow news week, but somehow we'll scrape together a few things to talk about with our gang. Let me introduce them to you. She is back, the First Lady of the Left, Lisa Hunt.
Hi, Jack. I'm so glad to be back.
The lady you love to call in and say, I'll never listen to you again if you have her on. She's back.
I'm just another opinion in a big pool of opinions.
So how are you doing?
I'm feeling much better. I've been sick with this strange disease that everybody thinks I got from getting the flu shot. So now it's a big conspiracy that when you get the flu shot, people are, I don't know. I never had a flu shot in my life until like 2 years ago, and all of a sudden I have some strange autoimmune disease.
Oh, well, I hope you're feeling better.
I'm feeling much better.
And are you contagious?
Absolutely not.
Okay, good. Then we can proceed.
Only her thoughts are.
All right, yeah, really.
Let's hope so.
Lisa Hunt is here. Doug Vair from Retama Park is here. Doug, good morning to you.
Hey, great to see you guys. Glad to be here. Very excited about the holidays coming up. We just wrapped up another great live racing season at Retama, and I'm really excited about the holidays. First time in a while.
And on our gang today, for the second time, she was first with us during our Raul Jimenez Thanksgiving Dinner Radiothon when I humiliated myself by being unable to say her name. And
We've been working on it, though.
I still am not sure I can say it. Mileka?
Yes!
Yay, Jack.
If only you guys could hear the applause.
I know. Mileka Lincoln from Fox San Antonio. Welcome back.
Thank you so much for having me. Very
Doug, you used to work in
here.
TV news, right?
Many years ago. I started in news when we had film and there was no videotape. So that goes, you know how far back that goes.
Best looking woman on San Antonio television, right?
Attractive.
Yeah. All right. But that's not just looks. We don't want to imply that it's just, you know, there's substance there too. And you do everything over there. You anchor, you report, you fill in, whatever, run the cameras, whatever,
yes.
Right?
And the other day I even cleaned the bathroom.
She did.
So if you need me to do that while I'm here.
Lot. Absolutely. To put you
Security.
To work. All right, well, let's talk a big TV story. What happened to Rick Perry in that debate?
Oh my God, I love this story. But I know Lisa has so much to say. We were holding it in the lobby because we wanted to make sure that we really unleashed in an authentic and genuine way for the listeners.
Do you, when you interview people, you must have had the experience, whether you're
of
out
interviewing
doing a story or
yes.
okay, but you're out doing a story or you're talking to a man on the street or whatever. People freeze up sometimes, right?
They do. But what we try to remind people is we're never in a position to make them look bad. We want them to tell us their opinion on the topics, on the commentary of the things that they should know intimately well.
But that camera sometimes has a weird effect. This camera right now is having a weird effect on me.
Well, you know what this is related to? You talk about camera and about radio and about the perceptions on television. The folks who listen to the Nixon-Kennedy debate on radio overwhelmingly thought that Nixon won. But on camera, he looked so bad that the folks watching television thought that he lost.
In this case, I hate to tell you this, but the radio listeners thought Perry sounded like
I will tell you though, but if you intimately know your topic, it shouldn't matter what the camera does or what the audience does. I think this was an example of him potentially not knowing what he supposedly was there to talk about and what he supposedly stands for.
Let's relive this moment before we analyze it further.
Oh, relive it?
From the Wednesday night CNBC debate at Oakland University in Michigan. Here's Rick Perry's moment.
Their speeches are very similar, their delivery is very similar, and they have the same things that they say.
Right.
He just doesn't know what he's talking about, and that's the reason he doesn't like to debate, and that's as plain and simple as it is. That's the reason he didn't debate Bill White.
He knows what he's talking about.
No, I don't think he knows what he's talking about.
I'm not here to defend Rick Perry.
I know that. I know that because I know you.
Is that this was a major blunder, And anybody, it can happen to anybody. You
yes,
have
but it happens to him every week.
You have certain blocks. You have certain blocks, and he has a block in debating. Now, if he's talking to you one-on-one, he can rattle off the talking points, and everybody has talking points. Everybody. Obama has the most talking points of anybody. He's no good without a teleprompter. He looks like a moron without a teleprompter. He says corpseman. Who says corpseman? Who? Only a moron. Who says 57 states? Only a moron says that.
Well, there might be 57 someday, Doug.
If he has a teleprompter, he's great. If he doesn't have a teleprompter, he looks ridiculous.
True, but don't you think that his lack of being able to even come up with a description of what it was that he was trying to get at made him come across as disingenuine and quite frankly,
I think he looked bad. He looked terrible. But it looks like he
doesn't know what he claims he stands for. I mean, and that should have nothing to do with having a camera in your face, having an audience in front of you. Close your eyes, regain your composure, and if this is something that is so, as he has said, so important and so crucial to who he is and what he stands for, he should have come around to it eventually.
I just know that people freeze up in certain situations.
I just don't know why at this point he has any percentage points. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I don't get this at all.
You don't get what?
I don't get at all why he's even up there in the above 3%.
Well, he's the governor of a big state. He's a Southern conservative in a party that likes Southern conservatives. Texas has a pretty good economic story to tell. On paper, he should be a pretty strong candidate, right?
On paper, absolutely.
Do you think it's also possible that when you're a Republican in Texas, these are kind of the friendly confines. It's a one-party state these days. The media kind of makes out with him more than covers him. And all of a sudden he goes national and he discovers, hey, it's hard out here. Not everybody takes the,
whole different league. It's a tougher league.
Well, it's kind of like the people that don't like me. All they do all day is listen to conservative radio. They never hear another point of view. And so when they do, they get angry. That's what they do. They get angry. Instead of trying to listen or trying to, say, well, maybe she's got a point, it's all of a sudden I'm the devil. And I'm not. I mean, I just have a different point of view, and that's why, I mean, for me to come on here as often as I do, most of the time, everybody in the whole room has a completely different opinion than I do. I mean, it's not the easiest thing in the world to do, but I certainly don't forget when I'm my talking points. I have one day I got lost in the Iraq War. It was, I don't remember if you were there or who was there, but I completely got lost. And it happens, but almost, so not running.
So you have no sympathy for
I'm not running for president of the United States, where you have to talk.
Thank God, Lisa.
Yeah, look, well, I'd be really good.
I'll say this much. I think that there is absolutely no question that Perry and his team underestimated the reception he would receive on a national level. And because he is so incredibly handled and protected here in Texas, and as just a member of the media who's had and struggled to try to work with him and gain access to him and get information from him, I mean, his team is just unbelievably airtight in terms of protecting him from looking bad. I don't think they anticipated the level of scrutiny and the access and the passion that would come from all sides in terms of just pulling apart everything he does.
It reminds me of an old movie, The Candidate.
I think.
Remember the movie The Candidate?
I don't think they underestimated anybody. I think you've just got a fellow that just is not up to debating. That's all it is.
Or talking.
Not up to debating.
And should that matter?
Yes, sure it should. Absolutely it should.
Because people say to me all the time, Doug, hey, the job of being president doesn't involve debating. And I always say, but getting there.
That's the point.
Well, it does,
that's the point, getting there, because these debates, they make me sick, because it's the same thing over and over, and we've got 16 or 26 or 106 more of them. I don't know how many are coming down the pike. But it does give you a little bit of a window into a person. You get to look at them, you get to kind of feel them, get to, squeeze the Charmin, so to speak, but it does give the public an idea of who that person is, and you have to come across as reasonably well-read, reasonably intelligent, which Obama does not if he does not have a teleprompter, and he is given such a huge pass by most of the mainstream media that if he had the same scrutiny that any other candidate had, he would really be in serious trouble.
Okay, let's strip away the debate and let's talk about the video that's circulating now on YouTube. What is it, like 1.3 million viewers seeing the speech that he'd made? The state
way more people
right
than
now.
saw the
way more
debate,
people than saw the debate. And this is not a situation in which he was being challenged, in which talking points were. This was a friendly audience at what, a campaign dinner?
Yeah, New Hampshire.
And that, on its face, I mean...
You mean I call it the maple syrup spirit? The maple syrup?
No one's ever looked so happy to receive a bottle of maple syrup in their life.
What was up with that, do you think?
What was up with that?
So this is why I'm asking, if you strip away the debate
No, that's not just goofy.
Oh, it was very goofy. I think he must have dropped acid before he went on the stage.
All right, that's what I want in my president. I want a president who just, in front of an audience, all of a sudden gets goofy.
And what's the problem with that?
I don't know. I was watching Bill Clinton the other night, and it always ensures to me that it's really unfortunate he couldn't have run again.
Is that what you do to kind of,
well, you know what? It's what I do to get my brain to let me know that there's somebody out there who still understands what's going on.
It's so easy to criticize. The media portrayed Reagan as old and stupid and didn't know anything. Al Gore and that alpha male performance that he had when his handlers told him you needed to come on stronger and become an alpha male. I mean, that is on the same level to me as what happened to Rick Perry. And it's a stumble, it's a bad stumble, and I don't think he can survive
Ronald Reagan started, his Alzheimer's started very early, or much earlier than people think. And I know that from most reliable sources. Most reliable sources.
Well, Doug, I think you mentioned something.
So that's a little bit different, having Alzheimer's and just being...
You think Rick Perry's done after this debate performance?
Yeah. I don't really think that he had much of a chance to begin with. Not because of him, but because I don't think the nation wants another Texas governor after Bush. I don't think so.
I mean, and you've heard the comparisons. George W. Bush Jr. is what they're calling him on late night.
Well, they sound alike. And I think that, and their mannerisms are alike.
The irony is that they really are very different.
They are.
They are.
And
very
the Bush
much so.
camp, this is the last guy that they'll ever get behind is Rick Perry.
Absolutely.
But on the surface, it does appear like it's, Act 3 of a 2-act play. We're going to come back with more Gang of Four. Mileka Lincoln from Fox San Antonio, Doug Vair, Lisa Hunt is here, and you're voting in the JR poll at 599-5555. Elizabeth Ruiz in the newsroom on 550 KTSA.
Former Penn State University defense. No
longer effective immediately. These decisions were made after careful deliberations and in the best interests of the university as a whole.
Back on Gang of Four on 550 KTSA, Jack Riccardi for Friday. So this week saw the surprising in its speed, I guess, decision of the Penn State Board of Trustees to fire the president of the university and the longtime football coach, guy that had been with the program for decades, Joe Paterno, winningest college football coach in history, over their failure to report, failure to follow through on a sex scandal that apparently a lot of people inside Penn State knew about for a long, long time. And after the announcement of the firing, the students went on a mini riot in State College, Pennsylvania, because apparently the only thing more offensive to them than the molestation of a child is the firing and forced retirement of an 85-year-old football coach. I mean, I don't know if you can make this story any worse than it already is.
They're so misguided.
But it looked like a bunch of people that have fallen under the spell of a cult. I mean, I love college football. Don't get me wrong. I'm not talking it down, but it is revolting the loyalty these people are showing.
They're going to look back, I think, at this time in their lives, and hopefully a lot of them will be as disappointed in themselves as I
don't
am
know.
in them. Because, you know, as someone who comes from a great football program, you know, as a USC Trojan alumnus, I know what it's like to be really passionate and to really love your guys and really love your program and really have a lot of support for them. But the fact that they have let the Joe Paterno angle of this entire situation overshadow what really is the heart of this incident, the alleged molestation of not just one, but now alleged 9 victims, is just, it's disheartening, it's disgusting, it's just really sad.
You know, I said earlier in the week to some colleagues of mine that Joe wouldn't make the Nebraska game. And it was based on the fact that the derision that would be heaped upon him at the game and outside the game from students of the opposing university. But, you know, it boils down to this whole situation, whether you like him, you don't like him, he should have been fired, should not have been fired, should have known, shouldn't have known. It boils down to what Sam Ervin said about Nixon. What did Joe know, and when did he know it? Now, if he knew what was going on, just going to the university president or the athletic director's not enough. Because I asked people that say it was enough, he's not liable anymore. What would you do if your child were being raped? If you had a 10-year-old boy and he was being raped by a 55-year-old man, what would you do?
You can even ask the question, Doug, what would you do if you knew a child?
Yes, but I hadn't gotten to that point yet. I'm saying, what would you do about that? But what if you saw this taking place?
Right.
As a parent, right, you would make sure that person faced retribution no matter what happens. And this program at Penn State has been built on integrity and honesty. And right, here's a man that's coaching his young football players. Right. You must give up yourself. You must go for the team. You have to be honest with yourself. You have to give 100%. You must sacrifice for yourself. All of these lofty virtues right, have been brought tumbling down right, by his inability to not, or decision, whatever it is, or maybe he's so old he didn't recognize it. I don't know what it is. I'm simply saying whatever happened is that he is absolutely responsible for not following through on it, and that's why he was fired.
Is it possible that people, the people in this case, Paterno, the university officials, the coaching staff, is it somehow possible that they think of themselves so much as a family?
Sure. That
they are just, it's just like the closing of ranks? Because I look at the Sandusky storyline. Here's a guy who retired in 1998. He's only 55 years old. He's in good health. He's never been hired to coach somewhere else, which when you're an assistant at a top program usually happens within 2 or 3 or 4 years, if it's ever going to happen. Nobody wants him. He's the heir apparent to Paterno, yet here he is retiring young and early. That's when the grand jury investigation began. There's a prosecutor who's looking into it as early as '99. All this time goes by, all of these investigations, which Paterno and the others are aware of. They let him on the campus. They let him have that organization under the aegis of the university.
Free run of the facility.
Let's face it, his calling card is the prestige of having been with Penn State. He wouldn't be able to get access to these kids if he was just Joe Nobody. I mean, is it possible that they really thought all this time their job was to be a good pal to Jerry Sandusky?
If that's the case, it sickens me. Because Joe Paterno is a father himself.
And a grandfather.
And a person, and he should be a human. Above and beyond being a football coach and having a buddy.
I'm going to play devil's
He was aware that this report had been made. Someone specifically, individually, personally went to him and said, I saw this with my own 2 eyes. And he thought it was enough just to report
don't you
up
even,
the ladder?
Don't you even think, though, Mileka, that just the fact that this guy, this Mike McCreary, just the culture in which you would see a child being raped, and you think your job is to back away and go tell your father, and then go tell Joe Paterno. I mean, who would do that? Who would not run in there?
That's the culture. That's exactly right. That's the culture of college athletics.
But that's exactly right.
The football coach reigns supreme over the
You
athletic
see this guy,
director.
and you see this happening, okay? I'm not saying it's right or wrong or indifferent. Yeah, we know right and wrong, okay? We know what should have happened.
I hope we do.
Okay, but the thing is that you keep asking yourself, why? Okay, imagine that you saw this. My husband, we talked about this last night. My husband said, you know, it's like without thinking, you go in there and you grab this guy and you beat the crap out of him.
Absolutely.
All right, immediately. Okay, but then you got to see, you stop. Your first instinct is you stop because you see who this is, you see what's going on, and for the first 3 seconds, you're asking yourself, am I really seeing this? because
Shocked.
it's so
Yeah.
impossible to wrap your brain around because of who this person is, okay? The next thing that happens is this. And then the next thing you know, it's 10 years later, okay? Listen, I understand. But you also have to understand that why this happened, whether it's right or wrong or indifferent, you have to understand why. You have to understand the fact that
This gentleman's act of self-preservation came at the expense of the potential sexual abuse
Yes, it
of
did.
not just one,
Yes, it
but now
did.
All of those
we
things.
all know that.
All of
Okay.
those things are true. All of those things are
but
true.
what happened was what happens. You want me to bring up the Catholic Church?
No, I don't.
Okay, but that's what I'm saying. It's
right,
like
and I don't
it's
think
still
we're
going
having a
on.
discussion of right or wrong.
Yeah, but the thing is, in that particular situation, forget Penn State. This is the Catholic Church, okay? Look what's going on there. Look what went on there. And it's still going on. They just move people from place to place
Well,
and kind of pretend that
I
it's
think-
not happening. But it is happening. So what I'm saying is that you take the football program. I mean, Joe Paterno is like God when it comes to coaching, okay? All of a sudden, it's all his fault. You see that? Why is it all his fault?
I don't know that anyone is alleging that this is Joe Paterno's
Yeah, but
fault,
but
I
this
think
is the
that-
story.
No, but
this is the story.
He's the face of Penn State football.
Yes, he is.
And this
And so
this
he-
really goes to what I'm saying. Here's a man that is, if he's not approaching senility, he is senile already and probably should have been gone a long time ago. But it also goes to the fact that you talk about this McCreary fellow, whether it's the president, whether it's the athletic director, I really believe that this is going to, I think they're going to have to sweep out everybody. I mean everybody, and whether right or wrong, everybody must be gone, because what's going to happen is Penn State will take years to recover its reputation.
Yes.
Parents won't let their recruits go there. I wouldn't be surprised if they lose their last 3 ball games. Nebraska,
And you know
Ohio
what?
State,
I'd
and
be
Wisconsin.
really surprised if that announcement isn't coming, because then on top of all of this morning, I'm not sure if you guys heard, a letter was leaked that had been sent out within the football program. Did you guys hear about this morning? And it was a request for football team family members and friends to all come to the game on Saturday wearing white in support of Paterno, when the school yesterday had released a statement asking everyone to come to the football game dressed in blue in support of victims of sexual abuse, child abuse.
Well, that's a backstory. That's a backstory.
No,
But that
her
in
point
itself,
is they're
I
not
think, is an
getting
indication,
it. They're not
exactly,
getting it.
is an indication of how misguided
Doug, we
this
have
has
just
become.
seen in this season alone another venerated college football coach, Jim Tressel, lose his job over tattoos and T-shirts.
Right.
Now, I have to say,
Yeah.
if the NCAA really stands for the things it says it does in those very glamorous, lofty commercials
is a good word.
that I have to sit through in every game, and if the Big Ten is really about building character and foundations and families, then doesn't there have to be a college football penalty, not just an internally ginned up, we're going to flagellate ourselves here at Penn State, but doesn't college football need to look at its death penalty or some sort of sanctions against Penn State?
Not necessarily a death penalty, but I think I think it's a good idea to take a look at it. And people talk about, oh, it's the victims, oh, it's the victims. We know it's the victims. That has become so nauseating to me. But until you have a family member that is molested, an adolescent boy that is molested by an older male, you really have no idea what it's like, the albatross that is hanging around that child's neck for the rest of their life. And you can only say that if you've had one, and I've had one.
Right.
I know.
So, if one of you said this is the culture now in college football,
It's
or
the culture, period.
So doesn't college football need to say, hey, if there isn't something, if something doesn't happen here, we could be looking at this story at another school years down the road.
It's all about the money. It's money. College athletics provide hundreds of millions of dollars to these universities, and it's the same culture in every major college of the 100 or so plus schools that play college football. The program is the most important thing. And now Penn State, the governor who's on the board of directors are trying trying to get past this and trying to wipe the slate clean, and I think they've done the right thing, but they have to go further.
Well, I think
I
that's what
you
you're
have
saying.
to clean house.
Yeah, they will.
Absolutely. I think you
They
do have
will.
to clean house. I think that Paterno, I'm going to go so far as to say, how dare him wait to get fired? He absolutely should have resigned.
Years
He's
old.
84
He's
years old.
old
You know,
enough to know
this is
better.
good.
You don't know his
This-
mental faculties. You
No.
look at him when he does an interview, he looks like the captain of the good ship Lollipop.
I know, really.
He's totally
like
out
last
of
night
it.
when he came out
He's
and what
out
he
of
said.
it.
That'll give you a good indication.
I'm so disappointed that this has become a discussion of Paterno and not a discussion of what it should be. Not shedding light, not shedding
Well,
insight, not getting
That
information
doesn't
out.
make news. You
to
know
other
that. You're in
potential-
news. You know that. It doesn't make news. This
and
makes
that's,
news.
And quite frankly, that's why I'm infuriated.
Well,
because
that's
this
what
has
it's all
been
about.
handled,
It's all
I
about
think,
selling a
so-
product, and this product sells very well. And that's
Sure
all there is to it. And the whole culture in this country is turning into this. You know, they did a report the other day on middle school kids and whether they'd been harassed sexually. We were talking about sexual harassment. This Herman Cain thing, which I suppose we'll bring up later.
Please don't do the
they're-
whole show right here, Lisa. I'm sorry.
No, I'm just saying it's the culture. Period. Boys
What's
don't
the
think
culture?
that. I mean, it's the culture of, you know, boys thinking it's okay to grab girls' butts and, you know, stick their hand up their
Wait a minute,
shirt.
Before you flush Western civilization,
Well,
down the toilet,
I mean, it's-
I think the outrage is widespread on this issue. It's not as if we don't all recognize how bad this is. We're talking about the fact that within that little bubble, I don't think they get it yet.
They
But
don't.
we are sitting here. We're representative of that culture
Yes.
that you're throwing away.
I am.
We get
I mean,
it. We know it's wrong.
it
We know
scares
it's wrong.
me.
And as to why Paterno is the story, one other reason why is that it's clear from the reactions of people like this young Mike McCreary, for whom Joe Paterno is the most influential man he's ever met,
course.
that he has not been raised. He has not been infused with character. He doesn't get what his responsibility is to his fellow human beings. The Paterno system failed precisely in the example of Mike McCreary backing out of that room
Yes.
and running off to tell Daddy. I mean,
exactly right.
that's
That is-
that's an infantile reaction that shows that everything we believed about the character building of that university was not really going on.
And at the same time, I'm not here to make apologies for that goof. I'm not. But when you are under the power of someone who has complete control over your life,
Yeah.
over your entire life, not just your career,
Right.
but your life, and you're in a state of shock, and you're thinking, maybe I'll never work again.
That's
or I'm
exactly
just saying,
right.
all
Right.
these thoughts are going through your
Right.
head.
Jack, that's what I think
and
too.
a person has to overcome that.
Yes,
Person
that's
must overcome
exactly
that.
what he was
but
thinking.
you must realize, as Jack says, the culture that was at Penn State. Joe
what you're
Paterno
telling me
was
is
more important than the athletic
They
director.
taught loyalty. They didn't teach
Over
morality or
integrity.
Yes, they
integrity.
did. That's
They
exactly
taught
what they
loyalty.
did.
Probably. I mean, we don't know that, but probably it appears that way.
His response was perfect in its loyalty.
Yes, it was.
And I-
In no other way.
But it lacked any and all kind of moral code. It lacked just the fundamental, the human,
Well-
the human aspect of you're talking
I
about.
want to know where the local police were. There was a child, a 12-year-old boy, who was raped by Sandusky, and he was hiding. If you want the whole story, just Google Jerry Sandusky grand jury report. It'll give you
All
20,
32
pages? I'm gonna read it,
23
yeah.
pages of the most sickening stuff you will ever read. But earlier, before this all happened, Sandusky was banned from a high school because there was evidence that he was doing this years ago. Where were the local police?
Well,
Where
wait a
were
minute,
they?
Doug. Wait a minute. The law enforcement's been on this since 1999.
Where have they been?
But you know as well as I do, and it goes to the same issue as McCreary, you're living in Paternoville.
Yeah, maybe.
You may be a cop.
This is like when the
You-
sheriff's son gets
You
pulled
may be a
over
cop,
for
but you know
DWI.
at a certain point, somebody is going to take you aside, or a prosecutor or whatever.
Right.
Say, hey, wait a minute, you realize what you're doing here, right?
Yeah,
you
that's
know the
exactly
gravity of this situation.
I think a lot of people made a McCreary decision
Yes.
that may have been lesser in severity.
Right. Because
But
they
there
were
a whole
afraid they
lot-
weren't going to have a job.
There were a whole lot of people living
Look,
in
Just
when I
like that.
first heard this, I automatically am very skeptical of prosecutors and DAs because They're politicians. They play to the public to get reelected. They make decisions that are wrong. They make decisions that overreach. They bend the rules to get a conviction on a high-profile case. It happens right here in San Antonio. It happens everywhere because they are politicians. And so I automatically am skeptical.
I did too.
But when I read that grand jury report, that was an absolute slam dunk that there was something really sick.
We're back with more Gang of Four on a Friday morning, 10:43 on 550 KTSA.
Interesting.
550 KTSA news time is 11:09. Gang of Four is coming around the final turn on this Friday afternoon. Lisa Hunt is here. Doug Vair.
Yay!
He jumped on the back of a horse at Retama, rode it down I-35, came right in here with it. And Mileka Lincoln from Fox San Antonio is here, and we're talking about the big stories of the day and the week. I don't think we're quite done with the Cain story yet. So let's listen quickly to Herman Cain this week in his own words. Take a listen. As soon as we play it. I want you to listen to me. I did not have sexual relations. I don't know.
And he didn't inhale either.
It's like ping pong, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Which is too bad for him.
But you know what?
Except that ping pong games are over at some point.
In the news cycles of today, within 30 days, I think this will be a distant memory.
Agreed.
Just like the Rick Perry, you know, stick a size 13 boot in his mouth. And it will be gone. We'll be on to something else. But if you look at all these candidates, Jack, Newt's going to be the guy. He's going to be the guy.
You said it's like Rick Perry, but you guys are saying in 30 days Rick Perry will be hanging around here again as the governor.
No, I'm saying
Herman
forget
Cain
about
still. Yeah, but he's not going anywhere. Right?
He's not going anywhere.
You believe you believe his campaign.
There'll be
if it
something
wasn't already
else.
over, it was over with the.
There'll be something else.
Where will Herman Cain be in 30 days?
Oh, he'll still be right there. He'll still be right there because this
is it because he's handled this the right way?
I think he's handled it the only way he possibly can.
Yeah.
How else are you going to handle it?
In other words,
but what Mileka said was exactly right. Exactly right.
What?
Yes.
Say it one more time so all the listeners at home can hear.
So they can call and tell you how much they love you?
No. The woman that said, I just want him to acknowledge it and move on. What? Do you really, is that why you're doing this? Do you really think that everything's going to be just blue sky, peachy keen for him if he acknowledges it and moves on?
No.
That was not what she wanted.
No.
Well,
it's an orchestrated attempt to take
time
it
out
down.
for 1 second. They find these people, and Gloria Allred is masterful at doing this sort of thing. They get you, it's just like the Jerry Springer thing. They'll get you, and you say, how in the world do those people go on that show and say that stuff? Oh my God, how did you get him to do that? They do the same thing. They meet you, and they get you in a room, and they tell you all this crap, and all this stuff's going to happen, and everything's going to be fine. All you got to do is say this, and blah, blah, blah. So it's not necessarily the woman that creates this problem. It's the Gloria Allreds of the world and the machine that does that sort of thing that gets this into the media.
You know, one of the first reactions we had from our callers, because we had just had Gloria Allred on the show on a totally unrelated matter like a week before this. People said to me, you know, if you hire Gloria Allred, your credibility takes a huge hit.
Of course.
We in the public associate her with frauds and circuses
lies and half-truths and innuendos, yes.
But
so
it used to not be like that.
If you were serious,
why would you ever
from the start, you probably would not get her, right?
Well, no, get her. She gets you.
Okay, but you would not sign
That's what
on
I
with
think.
her
But
if you wanted to be taken.
You know what? Everybody
seriously.
wants their 15 minutes of fame.
And she gets it for you.
And she gets it.
And she makes sure she's
There
in the
you
shot,
go.
right?
Yes, no one
She
wears
knows.
a blush beige suit like Miss Gloria
She's in
Allred.
every shot.
She and Kim Kardashian
The
get
worst
what they
one
want.
that she did, though, was with the porn actress and Tiger Woods, and the porn actress allegedly breaks down on camera, and she's consoling
Comforting
her.
her.
How can you
I
say that,
just-
Doug? It was the most moving moment I've ever seen. On
Very
television.
moving. Wow.
I still choke up.
Me too.
All right, so he came out and said, I have never done anything inappropriate.
Furthermore,
I don't
I've
even
never
remember.
seen
Never
this
seen her.
woman before.
Was there a danger
What
in that?
woman?
Was there a
Hugely.
danger in that?
Sure, and he
Absolutely.
was set up for that. They set him up because she showed up, somewhere a couple of days earlier,
She'd been
someplace.
with him a month before.
Yeah, and that's a setup. That, to me, that's an absolute setup.
That's why I would
Then
see-
maybe you shouldn't make such an unequivocally profound, defined, nevermore
Who's never done
ultimatum
anything?
Oh,
statement.
Clinton did.
I mean, maybe you
One of
shouldn't
my
have
least
said
favorite
that.
No, I
moments in
agree, I
history.
agree with that. He probably overreached a little bit.
Probably overreached a little bit.
So that could be coming back.
To haunt him later, among the other things that will
Telling you
haunt him
guys,
later.
this is going to be over within probably 2 weeks, maybe
Okay.
30 days. It's going to be
Thanksgiving
gone.
is coming.
Absolutely, more stuff's coming
All
out.
right, you mentioned Newt.
Yeah,
Doug.
Newt.
How is this possible?
because he's the best debater. We've already said it. We want a great debater. He's the best debater. He's the smartest guy on the block. He's up to 18% now.
Yeah.
Where are you going to go? Look,
But who would have thought, Doug? Really? Who would have thought?
My dad would.
I started to think a couple of weeks ago that he was going to gain momentum simply because of his debate performances, and we know he's the smartest guy up there.
He is pretty smart.
Right, but wouldn't you also attribute his rise in the polls perhaps to be because he is not at the center of the kind of controversy of the
Not
other
yet.
candidates? He doesn't have the cane
That's
thing
already
hanging on him.
Yeah.
But do you see what
No.
I'm saying? Like, at this point, in terms of where we are in the actual...
Gingrich's accusers are in nursing homes.
Right.
You'd have to go back and...
Now,
Right.
here's the main thing, though, with regard to this subject right here. Why has he made such a big rise? It's because Mitt Romney, people are afraid of him. He was anti-Second Amendment. He was pro-abortion. He was pro-universal health care. Now he's completely gone the other way.
So did Ronald Reagan when he became
well,
a Republican.
But not for a presidential campaign. That happened 25 years earlier.
Oh, well, it happened.
People can
It
change their
happened.
minds. People can change their
Well,
minds.
isn't it good, Doug, that Mitt Romney has finally joined the Republican Party? I mean, isn't that the positive?
I don't
Leave him
trust
Shouldn't they be
him.
glad that he finally came on board?
I
you know?
don't
Ain't he
trust him.
conservative enough?
I don't trust him.
What
at
about
all.
the argument that says, Peter Barnard wrote this this week, he said, you know, Republicans don't have to worry.
Right.
Because whoever if they manage to elect a president, that person will govern more conservatively than Barack Obama by default, and will be hemmed in by the makeup of the Republican Party.
And will be
to
held
govern as a
accountable for
conservative. So that even if Mitt Romney deep down secretly fantasizes about universal health care, there's no way he'd ever make a move in
That's
that
a good
direction.
point. But you know what also is a good point? And I hope that libertarians, freedom-loving people, I'm not talking about conservative Republicans, I'm saying
Right.
libertarian,
Right.
freedom-loving people take over the House and take over the Senate. So
Sure.
no matter what a president could do, they could override his veto of bills that we have to have. I know that's a fantasy.
Well, you know,
but
you talk about the
like
Second
to see
Amendment.
it.
You talk, you know, Barack Obama, I don't think ever has mentioned the word gun in the past 3 years.
just look what he does.
Oh,
not what
please.
he
You know
mentions.
what?
Look what he does.
By the
That's all
way,
you
I
have
have
to do.
guns in my house.
How much of the, on a scale of
And I'm
1
a
to
liberal.
10, on a scale of 1 to 10, or put it in percentages or however you want to do it, how much of the election next year will be really just about people either voting for or against Obama?
112%.
I think that's accurate. Yeah, people either love him or hate him, and when you have a sitting president that can't get more than 45% of those three
Right.
key swing states, he's in deep trouble.
So, in that situation, do you have to worry all that much about whether this one or that one is electable
No.
on the Republican side?
So basically, what you're
As long
saying,
as
it
they're
doesn't
not a
matter
flake,
who's
as long as they're
elected.
not a nut job, and we've had a few of those.
So
but-
is that what you're saying?
I'm asking.
I think it's probably true. I don't think the president has a whole hell of a lot to do with much of anything that goes on.
Oh no! Look what Obama's done
Oh,
with
you
his
and his
czars
gosh.
and everything else. Come on! I mean, and increasing the size of
Okay.
federal government,
I think
250,000 people. He did that all on his own.
Well, but the question is, will the Republican nomination come down to who the individuals are as candidates, or ultimately you're either for keeping Obama in office or you're against keeping Obama in
That's how
office,
sad
and
we
it doesn't matter who it is.
That's probably true.
All right, you're Barack Obama. Things are what they are. How do you run for re-election?
Do nothing, Congress.
You run against the Congress,
That's
right?
it.
Your opponent is not whoever the nominee is in the other party. You're running against.
Well, Sherry, but
the
guilt by
Republican
association. Don't elect Mileka because she's a Republican and she's part of that machine. And
But even
she's
if they're
part
not
of the
part
problem.
of it, even if it was Herman Cain, you'd still run against that Congress, right? You'd say, "Hey, this,
Yes.
I'm your bulwark. I'm your defender."
Can he
against
run
it."
on
I'm
his
the person who
record,
makes
Jack?
things.
Can he run on his
He
record?
can't run on his record.
No.
He can't run on the economy. He can't run on the record. You run against the Congress. And the other thing I think we should be expecting is that it will be a very seedy campaign. Because there's no way they cannot go after whoever that nominee is. In other words, what you've seen happen to Cain is awaiting.
milquetoast compared.
Whoever that nominee is.
Well, when you have $1 billion and you have a history,
Right.
as Obama does, of destroying your opponents.
So, Doug, how in the world could you contemplate sending Newt, I've been married 4 times, Gingrich, into that race?
It's just like what I was talking to Lisa
Newt,
off
go.
there. If you're having a heart transplant and you have a doctor who's the most
I
skilled
hear
doctor
you.
and he's got 14
I
wives
hear you.
and he has been an adulterer his whole life, or you've got a guy that's
a
not
reason
so
for you and
skilled.
me to vote for him. But I'm asking you, as the Republican Party, knowing this is what awaits your nominee, can you send a guy
Sure.
whose pickings
Yes.
are that easy?
I don't think they're going to be that easy because we elected a guy who was a serial adulterer who raped women, and he's one of the most revered presidents of all time.
Let's remember that was a different time. He had a weak opponent. He was a very good politician. He was a better politician in terms of skills than any of these people on either side this year. I don't think that's a comparison.
I don't think that the peccadillos that Newt had in the past are going to come back to haunt him. I just don't think so. As Dick Morris said, when Bill Clinton asked him for help in '92, I've got this problem with Gennifer Flowers and I have this problem with the draft. He said, don't worry about Gennifer Flowers. You get Hillary and she can explain that away. You have a problem with the draft. And it's the same thing now. Newt is not going to have problems with the number of wives that he's had.
What will he have problems with?
Probably some things like he got $300,000 from Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac to consult with him, things like that, because he's a politician. Now, I like him. I think he's the smartest guy on the block, and I hope that he can help fix things, but you've got to have a willing Congress to fix things, and right now we have people in Congress, Democrats, Republicans, who are all about big government, all about protecting their own seat. But I don't think that it's going to make a big difference in terms of what the people think about him. We know about him. We already know it.
Do any of you wonder if all these people, and it's a long list of people, who were either rumored to be running or were urged to run and they all said no and turned it down, do you think any of them are now looking at what's happened and wondering, did I make a big mistake here?
Like
Could
who?
I be running away with this? Any of them.
Who? Yeah. Who?
Any of them. You tell me.
No.
Did anybody miss him?
It's not a
If
thing.
Newt Gingrich is rising to the top, you know, a guy that just told us, I've been in politics since 1958.
Right.
Did any of them maybe miss an opportunity?
Well, maybe we want a guy who knows how to get things done. I'm just saying maybe, as opposed to a guy
He's just
who's
a
never
slow
done
starter.
anything like we have now.
yeah, he's a slow starter. Yeah. It just took a while.
He gets things done.
But now,
it just takes him 50
in his
years.
54th year of political
Right.
No, you're being a little bit harsh because he did help balance budgets
He
during
did.
the Clinton era.
He did.
He did get rid of welfare, as we know.
And he was the historian for Fannie Mae. Let's not forget that.
Exactly. So I think at least, and what I would really like to see, this is what is really intriguing to me, is what Newt proposed the other day, is a sit down on 2 or 3 occasions with Barack Obama for 3 hours with questions
Never
already.
going.
Of course it's not going to happen, but no moderators, and let them discuss
Sure.
the key
Love
issues,
it.
and then let's see how each of them come
Love
out.
it. Love it. Would transform American politics. Will never happen.
Right.
Yeah, that would be great. And I even say that because I think that the right thing is the right thing. Doing the right thing is still doing the right thing. And let the chips fall where they may.
But for those Republicans that think that the savior of our economy or our society are the people that are in Congress right now, Republicans in Congress right now, are nuts.
Nope.
They
Well,
are
I mean,
just as
does
much part of the
anyone
problem
still
as the
hoping for the
Democrats.
super
think
committees?
that?
You're not
Does
sure?
anyone still actually think
I doubt
that?
it, but
Well, they're the same people that think that the only reason that they're conservative is because of those hot button abortion, gay marriage issues. They'll vote for somebody who's Republican regardless,
and you
because
see,
they're so stupid.
Lisa, that's a good point, because that has transcended all the way down into the local and state Tea Party. When the Tea Parties first started, they were all about economics, all about cutting spending, all about cutting taxes. And the crazy folks that don't care about that so much, only care about abortion and gay rights, have really co-opted the Tea Party. So now the Tea Party in Texas and in San Antonio no longer stands for those economic issues.
The people that show up for meetings and join organizations and put in the time and effort are the people who are on fire about a particular issue.
Yes.
Most of us just want to get on with our lives, be with our families, indulge in our hobbies, and we don't put the time in. Therefore, we are ruled by and lorded over by those people that ran for class president back when we were all in school.
Okay, so
they grow up to run the country.
This is a perfect segue into the elections that were just held and what happened in Mississippi and what happened in Ohio. And I find it very interesting, this personhood thing. This was a really interesting thing. It's like, what happens is that when you take it a bridge too far, which is my very favorite thing, you find that people are going, whoa, wait a minute.
That's what happened in
You
Ohio.
mean we can't take birth control anymore? You mean, what happens if I get raped by somebody? You know?
Is that your Mississippi?
Well, you know what I mean? Well, you
I was
know.
with her though.
That's what I'm saying. You know, it's like all of a sudden, when they took it just a little bit too far. And what's happening is that people are starting to back off on that and saying, you know, well, maybe, and other people are starting to come out of the
there's
woodwork.
something about your country going over a cliff economically that sometimes brings,
you know,
makes people reconsider
Well, okay,
their
but that's fine.
priorities.
But I'm talking about, you know, all of a sudden this personhood thing.
Right.
You know, the other people came out and went, you know what?
Not the time.
But
we're not doing that.
It's all about incrementally. That's what it's about. Things are done incrementally, not with huge, giant steps.
But that's why I say, Doug, that the people that are motivated and fascinated by politics and joining things and belonging to things, they always have the advantage.
The
And that's
zealots.
why zealots.
Yes.
That's why both parties are under the influence of their respective zealots, because those are the people that play
They're the
politics
people that are out there.
for the fun of it. They love it. Most of us, those with the most common sense, we're just trying to get through the day. We're just trying to get home to our kids or our hobbies or television or whatever. And we're the majority, but we'll never put the time in.
Or we
like
get
they
out
will.
there when people are trying to take stuff away from us. I mean,
We
I
might say no once.
marched for a really long time. I joined now
But they
until
count
I
on
found
us,
out,
they count on us
holy
on
moly,
stage.
there's a bunch of wackos in that organization too. And it turns out that, you know, their lesbian thing was way more, please don't do that, was way more involved than women's, the other side of it, the abortion issue.
We'll come back, because I don't want to know. We'll come back with the lightning round. It's 11:26 on 550 KTSA. It's 11:33, the news and talk of San Antonio, 550 KTSA. On our gang today from Fox San Antonio, Mileka Lincoln. Our relationship has improved now that I can say her name. We've cleared that hurdle.
Mileka.
And when will you be on? I mean, you're doing something different every day. I never know what to plug. Are you filling in for anybody tonight?
I will be. Well, I'm not working today, but I will be anchoring this weekend.
You've been working here today.
Yes.
You've worked very hard.
Thank you.
You'll be
very
anchoring
much.
this weekend.
I will. Yes.
Okay. Around the football games and all that stuff.
Yes, I will.
And it's funny because you're a football fan.
I am.
But I'm sure you're in that newsroom sometimes saying, get this game over with so we can get on the air, right?
I usually say that about baseball.
Oh, baseball,
I almost
yeah.
never have that to say about
Oh,
football.
well, good.
Except
Good
for
for
when, like, oh, we're going on air? Okay, just tell me what the Trojan score is.
Yeah. Who are they playing?
This weekend, I don't know who we're
It's
playing.
really unfortunate. It doesn't matter who they're playing because they're not going
No.
anywhere. I know it's sad. It's sad. I'm a USC fan too. I like it, but I'm also a Miami Hurricanes fan.
All right.
Oh.
That other voice you heard, Lisa Hunt, with us. And we want to thank Lisa for bringing in a delicious strudel.
From Williams Bakery and Confectionery on Topperwine in the Brentwood Plaza, which is about a block up from Northeast Methodist Hospital. And
Great place.
Great place to. I mean, go there if you wish, because she will make you just about any kind of cake or pie special for a special occasion.
Love pie.
And they are fantastic in there. It smells so good all the time.
And Doug Vair from Retama Park. And how are things at Retama? You had a very successful meet.
We had, for the first time in about 3 years, we had quarter horses in the summer, thoroughbreds in the fall, and it was great. You know, we draw 5,000 to 7,000 fans out on 50-cent nights. But you know, Jack, as I say, the horse racing industry is under such assault from all these competing gambling that's all around us. At some point, the legislature has to allow us to do something so that there's 30,000 of us that don't get thrown out in the street. It's got to be card room, slot machine, something.
Good.
Something. Whatever.
I'm for it.
All right. Is there a political figure on the scene today, any party, any level, national, state, local, whose advances you would welcome?
You guys know the answer to this.
Go ahead.
No, I'm not going to say.
Oh, come on. You're going to say it. You know you
No,
are.
no.
You are.
No.
You've never been able to hold back. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
I'm not.
I'm so
Get us
intrigued.
started.
I have zero
We
idea.
have to know.
Yes.
Gives Mileka a chance to think of an answer. Go ahead.
Give her a chance to think of an answer. Bill Clinton. No doubt about it.
She's in love with. She's in love.
I've always
Bubba.
been in love with him.
She's in love with Bubba.
All right.
Too bad.
Doug Vair, is there someone whose advances you would welcome?
Nancy
Yes.
Pelosi.
Yes.
Yes.
My wife Sarah.
No, political figure.
Oh, come on. This is just a game.
Maybe Condi
Whose
Rice.
advances you would welcome. Sorry, it's early for me. I'm
Oh,
with you
yeah.
now.
How about Newt? Is that good, Newt?
It's not going to happen. It's just hypothetical.
Oh, just
No,
say it.
no.
No?
Really, no.
Okay.
No, and I'm not just holding.
Well, they're
back.
not
No.
as, yeah.
From you, I think I believe that. I think. See, Lisa wouldn't have been able to. We weren't going to let her off the hook.
Well, you already knew the answer to that.
Mileka, is there a political figure at any level whose advances you would welcome?
There's a political figure I'd like to give a little bit more time to hopefully try to clean up a bit of a mess that I don't think he was responsible for.
Okay.
So I'd really like to see what Barack Obama could do.
You
If
saw the
possible.
first 2 years. He had complete domination of Congress. Had a complete control, super majorities in the Senate and the House, and look what he did.
Yeah, I'd
All right.
like to see.
Like there wasn't a mess to begin with.
I'd like to see what he could do.
I don't
He
think,
did. He did.
Lisa, I don't think she answered.
Well, she didn't answer the
She
question
answered it
the way,
Which is probably very wise of her not to answer the question the way that I asked it. Probably just as well. All right, let me ask you this. We talked about this on the show this week. It's really weird. It's a weird story. And Lisa, you actually referenced it earlier.
Mm-hmm.
There was a survey this week that said that close to 50% of middle school and high school students claim they have been sexually harassed in school. I asked the question, are we just broadening and stretching the definition of sexual harassment to cover so much that it would really take in that many people, or is that true? Does that number sound right to you?
I do think that definition has expanded to the point almost that we are taking away the power of what it used to be in terms of what it did define. And yes, I don't think
I think it's possible. I think it's possible. But when you look at society and you look at everything that kids see, whether it's television, whether not so much radio, but whether it's television, movies, or the games they play on their computer or their Xbox, whatever it is, I mean, society has become so desensitized
Absolutely.
to what's right, what's wrong, what's proper etiquette. I mean, that's probably what happened at Penn State. I'm not making excuses, but you become desensitized to all this stuff for so long and you don't even know what's right anymore.
But I think too, like when you start roping all of these other things to become a part of that definition, you take away from what it used to stand for and how
Right.
Offensive it used to be. The line I think now has gotten so.
Well, because isn't one of the characteristics or qualities of sexual harassment that the person harassing you has some power
Yes.
over you?
Yes, that is the
Authority or
That is
leverage.
the fact that
So
it
that-
doesn't. It's not something that happens once.
So that if boys and girls are making you throw like a girl or whatever, or making fun of you in school, your fellow student isn't in an authority position over you. So is that really the same? To conflate that with sexual harassment in the workplace, to me, is to say these
Yeah,
are two
it's not.
totally
yes,
different things.
totally. I think that's bullying.
That's
I think
what I was
there's
just
the
going to say.
difference
That's
between
bullying.
bullying.
Yeah, it's bullying,
and
it's
sexual
immature, it's wrong.
But also
It's
sexual
growing up.
harassment.
Yeah.
Sexual harassment's definition is that somebody keeps doing it to you,
Yeah.
and you keep saying no, and they keep doing it
Right.
to you, and you're stuck in the middle of it.
Right.
It's not like somebody coming up to you and going,
I just
"Ooh."
think that sometimes we try to treat children like miniature adults. And we
Yes.
try to look at the world of children as if, oh, everything that goes on with us goes on with them too. And look, school's not a workplace, and being told you throw like a girl is not sexual harassment.
Well, there's a lot more than that going on.
Sure there is.
We're talking about the stuff that's going on in middle school right now.
Well, look at all this
What
stuff
was
with
not
Facebook
going on
and,
when I was
and
in school.
That's unimaginable to us. We couldn't have imagined being bullied on the internet
Right.
or having a website devoted to making fun of us. I mean, I agree. It's a different world.
No, it's a completely
and
different
it's,
world.
And it's
Sexual
serious.
harassment
And
is also
also-
different than sexual assault.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
let's make sure that you know,
Yeah,
is addressed in
there's
schools as well.
All right, well, let's end on a lighter note.
Please.
A woman in Bloomington, Minnesota is going to prison for 2 years. Her crime is stealing a mink fur coat from a
mink
store.
fur coat.
All right, so you with me so far?
Yeah.
Stephanie Moreland stole the mink coat by stuffing it into her underwear. The police were called, and it was clear she had stolen it, but she told them, "I sold it." She was taken into custody. She was held in jail. She was in jail for over 3 days before they discovered the mink coat was still in her underwear.
What?
It's not really good police work, is it? I mean, I don't have a picture of her.
Are we
but
talking about a shrug
even
or
sound
I can't really
like
imagine that you would miss
an
something like
overcoat?
that. Yeah, I can't really imagine that you would miss something like that. Can
Has
you?
a photo
No.
of said coat been
I don't have a
posted
photo of
online?
the coat or of her. I guess there could be one so skimpy and small.
I mean, that's why I'm like, was it a shrug? Was
Oh,
it
the
a
woman probably weighed 400
You
to
think?
600 pounds.
So that was it,
And-
just a lot
and-
of capacity.
Yeah, and she probably
Do you
had
think
a
so?
75-inch waist and could
You think?
jam it around there. Yeah.
Let's
Oh,
hope so.
good.
For the sake of the Bloomington Police Department, let's hope. Maybe they've been busy with Occupy Bloomington and they're just not.
Yeah,
So
that's
much-
probably true.
So much else going on.
You see
right
why I'm so skeptical?
I see that, Doug. I see that. I knew you'd have an answer. All right, well, look, we want to thank Doug Vair. We want to thank Lisa Hunt, Mileka Lincoln. You've all done a great job today. Thanks for being on Gang of
Thank
Four.
you, Jack.
Thank you for having us, and a happy Veterans Day
Yes.
to all those men and women in
Yes.
uniforms who
We
served our
love you and
country so
appreciate it.
proudly.
Yes,
And our
Yeah.
Confederate veterans as well.
Yes.
Yes, and their lovely flag.
All right. Any more to say on that, Lisa?
No.
Okay. Lisa, stay well. We hope you feel better.
Thank you, honey.
Thank you for coming in. Gang of Four podcast goes up on the website this afternoon, ktsa.com, video
I'm thrilled.
podcast next week. It's 11:42 on 550 KTSA.
Oh, I'm so glad
You know,
you came
Confederate
with this.
veterans are considered veterans by the Veterans
That's
Administration.
fine, but you
And we did, and we did pay
Go easy
them.
on her, Doug.
We did pay them
Through a
a
lot.
pension. We
I
did
love
pay
that we
the
can't
federal
just, like,
government
end.
paid them a pension after the war,
so
right?
You should.
Right?
What are you anyway?
Right? Am I not
you
right?
know, that's fine. That's fine. You know I love you,
Thanks
but
for coming in. Good to see you.